friends. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Books with Shannon. Today we're going to be talking about historical fiction books and some recommendations I have for you. But first, I wanted to talk fall for just a minute. I don't know where you're from, but here in Arizona, this is what fall looks like for us. Today is August the 4th, that's when I'm filming, and the high temperature today will be 110 degrees. So, not feeling like fall outside. So I went ahead and created a vision board, a fall vision board, just to kind of help get me in the mood. And I just want to share it with you. It'll probably take 1 minute, maybe 2, and just kind of a way of you getting to know me, well, since I'm new to Booktube. But if you don't want to see this, that's fine. Just skip on to the historical fiction part. But anyway, so my fall vision board looks like this. We carve pumpkins with the kids, of course, at Halloween, and that's always fun. I love to read my fall books. You'll hear more about those at my end of the month wrap-up. One of my favorite snacks for fall is caramel apples, and we get them at the festivals once November starts, and I always like to have some of those on hand because they're a fun treat for me. I like to light my fall candles, usually pumpkin and fall leaves. And if you'll see right there, it says baseball playoffs. I'm a big baseball fan. You can see some of my bobbleheads around on my bookshelves, when less now because I've got Halloween stuff up. But I'm a big baseball fan, so baseball playoffs start in October, and I'm very excited to watch those always. However, my Diamondbacks missed the playoffs by 1 game. 162 games. Had they won 1 more game, they would have been in the playoffs. But they're not. So I'm over it. It's okay. But anyway, I do like to watch the playoffs because I do enjoy baseball. In addition, I've just got some pumpkin bread on there. I don't really bake, but I do love pumpkin bread. I'm going to try to get my sister to bake me some pumpkin bread. I love decorating for fall. You might have seen that in some of my beginning of my other videos. Fall drinks. I'm looking forward to some pumpkin matcha coming up here in the next day or so. The one I didn't mention, I think, is the Halloween lights. We have littles in my family, and we like to take the littles on out to see Halloween lights, like you would Christmas lights. There's a lot of people here who do up Halloween with all the huge skeletons and everything, and they're nearby. And there's haunted houses nearby, so we kind of do that at this time of year as well, kind of in the next couple of weeks anyway. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of do that because I feel like I'm new and you guys really don't know me that well. So if you have specific things you do in the fall that you'd like to share, please let me know. And let's go ahead and get into the historical fiction recommendations. The first few I have, I'll pop up the book. I don't have the book, physical copy of the book on hand. I've loaned 2 out, and 1 is a library book. So the first one I want to talk about is The Carnegie's Maid by Marie Benedict. And this one follows Andrew Carnegie, who is the Carnegie Hall in New York, that Carnegie. And Clara is a maid that goes to work for the Carnegie family, mainly the mom. She goes to work at the mom's house, and the brothers, all the Carnegie brothers, are grown, and they're pretty much ruthless businessmen making all kinds of money. And she falls into this job. They're supposed to be interviewing a different Clara, but they don't realize that it's the wrong Clara. She comes from a very poor farm family, and she takes advantage of this, and she gets the job and goes to work for the mom. As she's working for them, she's very smart, she's very sympathetic, she's very hardworking, and she gets to know Andrew Carnegie, who is one of the sons, and they befriend each other, and he realizes in their conversations how smart she is, and she kind of gives advice in certain situations, and their friendship grows, and he kind of relies on her down the line, and essentially she ends up transforming him from a ruthless businessman to the wonderful philanthropist that he became. So it's a wonderful story, and the story really has heart, and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave this one 4 stars. All the books I'm going to talk about were all books I've read this year that were over 4 stars or more. I didn't include the ones that were less than 4 stars. So that one of my quotes, I have 2 quotes from this book that I wanted to share with you. One from the book is, "A person who never made a mistake never tried anything new." And then I wanted to share a quote from, this one isn't from the book, it's from Andrew Carnegie. He says, "Extremely wealthy Americans have a responsibility to spend their money in order to benefit the greater good." So, good book, Marie Benedict writes a lot of good historical fiction, but that was one of my favorites from her this year. The next book I want to talk about is Park Avenue Summer by Renee Rosen. And this book follows the story of Helen Gurley Brown, who in the 1960s in New York became the chief editor of Cosmopolitan magazine. At the time, it wasn't a woman's magazine, and she, of course, wanted to change it and make it a woman's magazine. And you follow her through all of the struggles and all the breakdowns that she goes through in order to make that happen in a male-dominant industry. So you also, one of the other main characters is her secretary, and they become very good friends. And so it's really a story of female friendships and female ambition and very strong female characters. And Renee Rosen has a great way of blending fact with fiction, and she does it seamlessly. I highly recommend that you pick this one up. The other one that's also by Renee Rosen is Fifth Avenue Glamour Girl, also a setting in New York. The New York settings are always fun. This one takes place in the 1930s, and this one follows Estee Lauder and her start in the makeup industry, and also another strong female friendship in this one. She starts off with selling face cream in beauty parlors, and she strikes up a friendship with one of the hairstylists who's also got, her secrets, and they become fast friends. And the friend ends up getting a job at Saks Fifth Avenue and ends up down the line, getting an opening for Estee. Quote from there. I like this quote. "I find it funny that you're nervous about a woman editing a magazine for women." The next one that we're going to move on to is, this one is Carrie Soto is Back. And this one follows Carrie Soto, who is a retired tennis pro, and she had broken all kinds of records and before she left the sport. And then she comes back like 6 or 7 years later in the 1990s, and she's at a big tournament where someone is breaking her records. And she decides to make a comeback. And so she gets her retired father to coach her, and also she ends up training with one of her old nemesis, and they also have a little bit of a love thing going on too. But it's really just a story of a strong female athlete making a comeback. And I enjoyed this one. This one was over 4 stars for me as well. You don't always like Carrie. As a matter of fact, lots of times you're not going to like her, which is often the case in Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, I think. But you still end up rooting for her. At least I did. So recommend that one as well. Quote for Carrie Soto is Back. "One of the great injustices of this rigged world we live in is that women are considered to be depleting with age and men are somehow deepening." Okay, the next Taylor Jenkins Reid historical fiction book I want to mention is Malibu Rising. This one takes place in the 1980s, and it follows the Rivas family, who are all famous for something. The oldest daughter is Nina, and she is a supermodel and also a very good surfer. A couple of the brothers are surfers as well. One's a photographer of surfing, and Kit, the younger sister, is also a competitive surfer, and the dad was a professional singer. And this one starts off with Nina has just gotten a divorce from a tennis pro, and so she's in the limelight a lot, but they always have an end of the summer party. And so she is reluctant to have it, but ends up throwing it anyway, and all the brothers and sisters have secrets. And at this party, everything ends up coming out. And it's really a story of family sacrifice, and I just loved it. I just thought it was really great. A couple of the quotes from this one. "Waves that beautiful are rare. That is the thing about the water. It's not yours to control. You are at the mercy of nature." Another quote I love from this one is, "Letting people love and care for you is a part of how you love and care for them." Love those quotes from there. So that's a good one to pick up as well. Okay, my last Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this is one that I love so much, as you can tell. But The 7 Husbands of Evellyn Hugo. This one follows Evellyn Hugo in her older life. It actually takes place in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So in the 80s, she's decided to write her memoir, and she hires a young journalist to do that. And so she continues to come over and hear all of Evellyn's stories throughout the years and throughout her 7 marriages. Evellyn is ruthless at times, and she uses people at times. And I just ended up loving her and rooting for her anyway. Again, that seems to be a common trait in some of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. But this is a book of unexpected friendship and forbidden love. I just love the complexity of it. And I loved Evellyn, and I loved so many of the other characters, and there are so many. Okay, there are so many good quotes in The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but I just picked a couple for you. Never let anyone make you feel ordinary. I love that one. Don't ignore half of me so that you can fit me in a box. Sometimes reality comes crashing down on you. Other times reality simply waits patiently for you to run out of the energy it takes to deny it. I would say right now I've read over 100 books this year, and this is definitely in the top 3. So I don't know where it's going to end up in the end, but I love it. So I recommend you read it as well. Okay, the next historical fiction book I'm going to mention is one by Sandra Brown. This one does not have the jacket, so I will flip it open here. Blind Tiger by Sandra Brown. And this one follows Thatcher, who's a returning soldier from the war. And he ends up getting into some trouble on a train, so he jumps off the train and almost into the yard of Laurel, who is the main female character. Laurel, husband has just died, and she is now living with her baby and living with her father-in-law. Her father-in-law does some bootlegging. This takes place in the 1920s during Prohibition. And as Laurel sees this, she continues to worry about her father-in-law, but she ends up getting involved in the bootlegging industry as well and doing really well in it. We're back to Thatcher. Thatcher is dealing with issues of his own. He's become a suspect in the missing persons case, and the sheriff kind of takes a liking to him, though, and he ends up becoming a deputy sheriff. So Laurel and Thatcher, who meet, and there's definitely sparks and attraction there. They end up kind of fighting on opposite sides of the bootlegging war. I enjoyed it very much. This was a 4-star for me. One of the quotes I like from this one is, "In the quiet moments, life whispers its truths, gentle as the rustle of leaves in a hushed forest." Okay, friends, I think that's it. So comment below. If you've read some of these, share your opinions. Please remember to subscribe, hit like, leave me comments. And until next time, please take care of each other. Happy reading.